Hey everybody, this is Bonnie Barker with Bonnie Bay Crochet, and I am super excited to share this project with you today. This is the Celtic Knot baby blanket, and it is a special collaboration that I have going with my friend Jennifer Ryan over at Celtic Knot Crochet. Now, that said, if you want to make this baby blanket, the very first thing you need to do is learn how to make this beautiful Celtic knot. I promise you it looks a lot more complicated than it really is. The same with the stitches that are in this blanket that I will be teaching as well. So when you go to her channel, keep in mind first of all, that you are going to need, or I highly recommend that you invest in the written pattern. You can buy that either from Jennifer or from me. The pattern will be complete from either one of us. You don't have to go to two separate places. We're trying to make this as easy as possible. But you will need to go to her channel for the instruction. And as you make your Celtic knot, I just want to assure you that this is made using chains, single crochets, and slip stitches. And then once you have created the Celtic knot, you might have to work some half double crochets in there as well. Very basic stitches worked in a very special way. And Jennifer's instructions are very clear, but again, you will need the written pattern because you have charts and whatnot in there that's going to help you make this a seamless process. Okay, and then once you finish the Celtic knot portion, please come back to my channel and I will teach you how to make the rest. And some of these stitches that are featured are the low front ridge, the arrow stitch, which I know many of you who follow my channel are already familiar with. I do use the Celtic Weave in the round, and I will be very detailed in how I explain how to work that stitch. And it also is framed with a ribbed, cabled finish. So I really enjoyed doing this project with Jennifer, and I really hope you enjoy the process as well. And I just think this is going to be a phenomenal gift for the special baby or the mom in your life, expectant mothers. All right, well, let me go ahead and show you what you're going to need. As we continue with this project, I just wanted to review the materials that I will be using. I am using Paintbox Yarns Simply DK. This is available from lovecrafts.com. And each of these balls of yarn are 100% acrylic. They have 302 yards or 276 meters. These are 100 gram or 3.5 ounce balls of yarn. Okay, let me go ahead and give you the color. This is color 137, which is the dark blue. This is color number 133, which is kind of a medium country blue. And this is color 102, which is a champagne white. And the number of balls that we're going to use for the entire project will be listed across the bottom of the screen. I'm also going to recommend that you have a size H or 8 or 5.00 millimeter crochet hook, and as always, a yarn needle and a pair of sharp scissors. I'm also recommending that you have 4 removable stitch markers. If you are coming to this video for the first time and have not made your Celtic knot with Jennifer Ryan on her channel, which is Celtic Knot Crochet, you need to go ahead and watch her video. I'll have a link in the video description below, and she will teach you how to make this beautiful Celtic knot square. And I've gone ahead and I've made a backing for the back of this. This is a separate piece just made up of single crochets, and I'm going to leave any of the other details to her because she's just really great at instructing on how to make this. And this is going to be the center of our baby blanket. So now to begin the perimeter rounds, I'm going to call this round 1. And we're going to join with a slip knot to any corner of the square, any chain 1 corner. and go ahead and give it a chain, and then we're going to work a single crochet, chain 2, and another single crochet worked into that same chain 1 corner. And so what we're going to do to start is we're going to just work a round of single crochets all the way around the square, working 1 stitch in each. So we'll work that across. When we get to the chain 1 corners, we're going to work a single crochet, chain 2, single crochet. Now before we finish this round, I'm going to have you take those stitch markers and we're going to put 1 in each of these chain 2 corners. The colors honestly don't matter. It's just something to mark the chain 2 corners so that doesn't get lost in what we're going to do in completing and in going to the next round. Okay, so now that those stitch markers are in, we're going to go ahead and finish round 1 with a slip stitch worked to that very first stitch. So let me say something about the stitch count. We should have a total of 38 single crochets. I am including the single crochets in the chain 1 corners here. Okay, now if you have 39 stitches, it could be because you worked this stitch that also has a stitch for the chain 2 corner worked into that. If you did that, I'm sorry I didn't call attention to it sooner, but you should only have the single crochet, chain 2, single crochet in that corner, and then work the remaining stitches across. So again, 38 stitches across each side. Now for round 2, we're actually going to work round 1 of the low front ridge, and we're going to start right here, and we're going to chain 1. We're going to skip the corner entirely, and for the record, this round has no bearing on the stitch count that we're going to be working. So don't worry about that. We are going to work in that chain 2 corner on the next round. So what we're going to do now in this round, okay, again, skipping that chain 2 corner, we're going to work a slip stitch working only in the front loop. Again, skipping each corner. So we're just going to work slip, stitch, just like this. Slip, stitch. Hopefully you can see that. Slip, stitch. So go ahead and work this all the way to the next corner, and then I'll show you the next turn. Now I'm coming close to the corner. I have 1, 2 stitches left. Okay, and then we're going to skip that chain 2 corner. Let's just give it a chain 1. We're just going to skip that chain 2 corner, and then working in the first single crochet on the next side, we're going to work a slip stitch and work this all the way around. So that's what you're going to do. So when you get to the corner, you can make a chain 1 and then just keep that going. All right, so go ahead and work this all the way around, and I'll show you the join. At the end of this round, we're going to join with the slip stitch to that join at the end of the round, and then we are going to fasten off. Go ahead and give it a chain and a tug and a nice generous strand. Then we're going to bring this to the back side. Let's go ahead and do that now. You can actually bring it yeah, right here. And just bring this on to the back side. So what we've just done is we've made a nice ridge. Okay, so now for the next round, we're actually going to switch to the medium blue color. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to join with the slip stitch. This is round number 3, but we're actually going to be working the low front ridge round 2. Okay, so we join with a slip stitch to any chain 2 corner. I'm going to go ahead and remove this just temporarily, and then I'll put it back once I finish what I'm going to do here. And we join with a slip stitch, and then we work a single crochet, chain 2, a single crochet, and we do have the back side facing us. Now working in the remaining loop, which is right here, we're going to work single crochets. And again, this loop will be right in front for you to grab there. So go ahead and work those single crochets all the way across. You should have a total of 40 single crochets on each side, and that would be including the single crochets in the chain 2s. All right, so go ahead and work that all the way around. And just as a review, when you get to the chain 2 corners, which are marked with stitch markers, you're going to work single crochet, chain 2, single crochet. So go ahead and work that all the way around, and I'll show you the join at the end. At the end of round 3, we're going to join with a slip stitch to that very first stitch of the round. I'm going to go ahead and remove my stitch marker, and we're going to also slip stitch to that chain 2 space, and then we are going to turn. So now for round 4, we're going to work the arrow stitch. So we're going to start with a chain 2. Now this chain 2 does not count as a stitch in the stitch count, but then we're going to work 2 double crochets in that chain 2 corner. Now we're going to work a treble crochet, but before we do that, we're going to skip the first 3 stitches, 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to work a treble crochet in that next stitch. Now working behind that treble crochet, you can just pull it back and see the stitches that we skipped. We're going to work a double crochet in each of those 3 stitches skipped. So you're just wrapping the hook once for those double crochets. Okay, I'll do this with you again a couple more times. Skip 3 stitches, 1, 2, 3, and you can see I've prepared my hook with 2 wraps for that treble crochet, and then at 4th stitch we work the treble crochet. Working behind that stitch, we work double crochets in each of those 3 skipped stitches. Okay, I'll do that one more time. Skip 3 stitches, and I've prepared my hook for a treble in that 4th stitch. Be very careful that you don't skip more stitches than you need, because the numbers are laid out pretty precisely at this point. Okay, working behind that treble, double crochet in those 3 skipped stitches. So go ahead and work this across, and I'll show you what it looks like when we get to the corner. So I'm going to work this last arrow stitch before I get to the corner. Skip 3, 1, 2, 3, and that should bring you to that last stitch on that side. Working behind that treble stitch, we double crochet in those 3 skipped stitches. Now we get to the chain 2 corner, I'm going to remove this again, and then I'll replace it once I finish. When we get to that, we're going to work 2 double crochets, a chain 2, and we're going to turn 90 degrees, and we're going to work 2 more double crochets into that same space. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at what we have here. It's going to be so pretty when we finish this, I think. So now we just go back to skipping 3 stitches, 1, 2, 3, treble crochet, that next stitch, and then double crochets in those 3 stitches that we skipped. All right, let me give you a stitch count. So we should have 44 stitches across, but as far as the arrows, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 arrows are going to be formed on each side by the time we complete this round and the one that follows. So go ahead and complete round 4. So after working this all the way around, we come to the original chain 2 corner. Go ahead and work 2 double crochets into that corner, chain 2, and join with a slip stitch to the first double crochet, not the chain, but the first double crochet of the round. And you can put a stitch marker back in there, just so that you know. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at our square now. Okay, we should have 10 4-stitch arrows along each side, and each corner should have 2 double crochets, a chain 2, and 2 double crochets. So now we're going to turn to have our work facing us on the back side. And so now we're going to chain 2, and we're going to work the chain 2 corner first by working 2 double crochets, chain 2, and then 2 more double crochets. Let's take this out again, and we'll replace it when we're finished. And again, 2 double crochets worked into that corner. Now we have 2 more double crochets to work in. Just work in through the top loops, 1 and 2. These were stitches that are not part of the arrow stitch. Now we're going to skip the next 3 stitches, 1, 2, 3, treble crochet in that next stitch, and it should also be the treble crochet from the last row. Now working in front of this stitch, we're going to double crochet in each of those 3 stitches that we just skipped. And that's going to be the repeat across. So let me go ahead and do that again. Skip 3. I prepared for that treble crochet and treble crochet in that next stitch. Now that next opening may be a little bit larger than the others. That's quite normal, and it's okay. It's part of the design. Working in front of that treble, we double crochet in those 3 stitches that we just skipped. Let's go ahead and look at the front, and you'll see why we call this an arrow stitch, because you're forming arrows. So go ahead and work this all the way across. When you get to the end of the sides, which you will do this several times, double crochet, and when you get to the chain 2 space, we work 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 double crochets into that corner, and then turn, and again double crochet, and then you resume the arrow stitch. So go ahead and work that all the way around. At the end of round 5, we're going to work double crochets into the 2 double crochets from the previous round, and then join with a slip stitch to that first double crochet of the round. Now go ahead and slip stitch your way to the chain 2 corner. You should have a total of 48 stitches on each side. I'm not including the slip stitches or the chain 2 at the beginning of the round in that stitch count. Also be aware as you're working that this stitch, it does not count as a stitch. All right. So now for round 6, we're going to simply work a round of single crochets. I'll go ahead and start you on this with a chain 1, again front side facing, single crochet in the same place in the chain 2 space. And again, keep in mind that this is not a stitch, so we're going to work over some of those slip stitches. Might be a little bit bulky as we start this, but we're going to work 1, 2 single crochets, and then 2 more. 1, 2. So you should have the single crochet where you joined plus 4 more single crochets. And then we're just simply going to work 1 single crochet in each stitch all the way across. At the end, as you're working across, you get to the chain 2 space, you're going to work single crochet, chain 2, single crochet in the chain 2 spaces. That's going to give you a total of 50 stitches across each side. So go ahead and work this around. At the end of this round, we're going to work a single crochet in that chain 2 space, chain 2, and then we're going to join with a slip stitch to that first single crochet of the round, and go ahead and give it a chain. We're going to fasten that off. Time to switch colors again. All right, so this is what you should have after completing 6 rounds. Now for round 7, we're going to use the dark color, or the dark blue. If you're using pinks, dark pink, whatever the darkest of the 2-tone colors may be. And we're going to work a slip knot, join in any of the 4 corners, it really doesn't matter. And I'm going to go ahead and give that a chain, and I'm going to work a single crochet in that same space in that chain 2 corner, and after that I'm going to work 1 single crochet in each stitch all the way around. When you get to the chain 2 spaces, definitely mark your chain 2 spaces, okay? So after you've completed the chain 2 in each corner, go ahead and mark it with those stitch markers. When you get to the chain 2s, we're going to work a single crochet, chain 2, single crochet in each of those chain 2 spaces. So go ahead and work that all the way around. At the end of round 7, we work a single crochet in that chain 2 turning space, and chain 2, and a slip stitch to the very first single crochet of the round. And I'm going to go ahead and dutifully replace my, if I can get it off, there we go, my stitch marker into that corner, and I'm going to make sure that all my chain 2 corners have a stitch marker, because we are about to work another low front ridge. So we're not going to turn at the end of this round, or the one that we just finished. We're just going to continue on. So I'm going to have you chain 1 and working in that next front loop. We're just going to work slip stitches, working only in the front loop of every stitch as we go across. So at the end of the last round, which was round 7, you should have a total of 52 stitches across each side. All right, so go ahead and just finish working those slip stitches in the front loop only. When you get to the chain 2, just like we did before, you're going to chain 1, you're going to skip the chain 2 entirely, and then go to working slip stitches, working only in the front loop of each stitch all the way around, and I'll show you the reconnect at the end. As I round the corner for the last time, I come to that last stitch and work that slip stitch. I'm going to chain 1, again skipping that chain 2 corner, and I'm going to join with the slip stitch to that first stitch of the round, and then I'm going to fasten off, give it a tug and a pull, and find my scissors, which are right here. All right, and just go ahead and give that a nice tug. So now this round is complete. So we're going to join to any corner, and I'm purposefully choosing different corners each time, just to kind of minimize the hiding of those loose ends so that one corner doesn't get burdened with all of the loose ends. So now we are going on to the next row. Before I do that, let me go ahead and give you some stitch counts. At the end of this round, you should have still a total of 52 stitches per side. Like I said, this round that we just finished, which is round number 8, does not really affect the overall stitch count. The next round that we're going to do, which is round number 9, I commonly call this a low front ridge round 2, but I'm going to work this a little bit differently than I traditionally do. We're going to switch to this champagne white yarn, and instead of using single crochets, I'm going to use half doubles. So we're going to first join the yarn in the chain 2 corner, and I am also going to change the number of stitches per chain 2. So a lot of things are going to be different with this round as we work the foundation, which is going to later turn into the Celtic Weave. So we're going to chain 2, okay, which is going to count as a stitch in this round because we're going to be using half double crochets. Go ahead and work another half double crochet. So this is going to count as 2 stitches. Chain 2. Go ahead and do that one again. Chain 2, and then 2 more half double crochets worked into that same space. And I'm going to go ahead and move my stitch marker. You don't have to do this every round, but if you're new to these stitches, it may be helpful just as a visual reminder that this is a corner and you're going to do something slightly different. All right, so now as we work in the back loop only, we're going to work half double crochets all the way across. And let's go ahead and work a half double, not a single. Do that one again. Okay, so as not to bring any confusion, these are half double crochets, and I'm going to work these all the way across until I get to the next chain 2 corner, and I'll work that one with you as well. After having worked these all the way across the side, I get to the next chain 2 corner, again that's marked with that stitch marker. We're going to work 2 half doubles. Let's go ahead and remove the stitch marker. After those 2 half doubles, chain 2, and then we're going to work 2 more half doubles worked right into that chain 2 space. So go ahead and work this all the way around. Each side will have 56 stitches. Do make sure that you are on to that stitch count. It's pretty important going forward towards the next round. At the end of round 9, we're going to join with a slip stitch to the top chain, there we go, of the turning chain, since this is counting as a stitch in this stitch count. And then we're going to slip stitch our way into that next stitch and to the chain 2 corner. Now we're going to chain 3, and this will also count as a stitch in the stitch count. And then we're going to work another double crochet in there, chain 2, and 2 more double crochets into that chain 2 corner. Okay, let me go ahead and give you some stitch counts. Again, this is a repeat. I'm repeating myself, but I hope this is helpful. From the last round, which was round 9, you should have 56 stitches along each side, and that is including the 2 in each of the chain 2 corners. Okay, very important as we begin round 10. Now round 10 is where we're going to begin the Celtic weave. This is a challenging stitch, I will say that up front, but it's not impossible. So let's go ahead and begin. We're going to prepare for treble crochets. We're going to be working a lot of front post treble crochets in this round. We're going to skip the first 2 stitches, 1, 2. And those would be the 2 that were in last round's chain 2 corner. We're going to work front post treble crochets in each of the next 2 stitches. Working in front of those 2 stitches, we're going to front post treble in the 2 stitches that we skipped. All right, so let's go ahead and do that again. Skip the next 2 stitches, front post treble in each of the next 2 stitches. Working in front of those 2 stitches, we front post treble in each of the 2 stitches that we just skipped. Work the one that's furthest away first, and then the one that's closer. I'm going to do this one more time. Skip the next 2 stitches, 1, 2, and then front post treble in the next 2 stitches. Working in front of those last 2 stitches, we front post treble in the 2 stitches that we skipped. First, the one that's furthest away, and then the next one. So you end up making these crosses, which is very similar. In case those of you are familiar with the 4-post cable, it's really the same for this round at least. So go ahead and work this across the side, and I will show you what to do when you get to the corner. Now that I've worked this all the way to the corner, I'm going to do the last cable crossing. Skip the next 2 stitches, front post treble in the next 2, and these are the 2 stitches that are in that chain 2 corner. Working in front of those last 2 stitches, we front post treble in the 2 stitches that we just skipped. Okay, now we come to the chain 2, and we're going to work 2 double crochets, chain 2, and I'm going to turn 90 degrees to work along another edge, and I'm going to work 2 double crochets into that same chain 2 place. So let's go ahead and take a look at that, and take a look at these all along the side. You should have a total of 14 of these 4 stitch crossings or crosses as you go across each side. Very important that the numbers match up, because going forward, each of the rounds are going to depend upon this. So I'm going to start you off on the next side. Skip the next 2 stitches, front post treble in the next 2 stitches. Go ahead and get that out of the background. Working in front of those 2 stitches, front post treble in those 2 stitches that we skipped, and these would be the 2 in that chain 2 corner from the last round. All right. So go ahead and work that all the way around, and I'll show you the join at the end. I'm going to go ahead and work the last 4 stitches with you. Skip those next 2. And then here is the turning chain, which, as I mentioned earlier, counts as a stitch in these rounds. And another front post treble crochet. And then working in front of those 2 stitches, we front post treble in those 2 skipped stitches. All right, and then we're going to join at the top of that turning chain, since that also counts as a stitch. And then again, slip stitch into that next stitch and into the turning chain. Now before I do the turning chain for round 11, let's just take a look at this, and this is going to be a really pretty stitch on here. I hope you enjoy this as much as I do. I'm going to give you some numbers just to review. You should have 60 stitches across. That would be 14 of these 4-stitch crosses. And then, of course, 2 stitches here and 2 stitches here. You end up with 60 stitches. Let's go ahead and turn. And now we have the back side facing us. And this is going to be round 11. We're going to chain 3. Again, this counts as a stitch in the stitch count. But we're going to go directly into working the Celtic weave, and then we'll complete this chain 2 corner at the end of the round. Now, if you've worked the Celtic weave before, you've probably worked it in rows. Now, working it in rounds is a little bit different. I think easier in some ways. So what we're going to do is we're going to skip the first 2 stitches, 1, 2, and we're going to work 2 back post trebles. Now the back post, okay, we're going to work over the stitches that are on the back side. So I'm going to try to lean it back here so you can see. So back post treble there, and in the next one, these are going to be laying on top, the stitches that are on top on the back side. And again, use your fingers and thumb, use those nerve endings to find these stitches. Okay, now this is where the language gets a little bit inadequate. Working in front of these stitches as seen from the front side, we're going to work back post trebles here and here. So these are going to cross on the back side. Okay, so we're going to come over and get, this is the first stitch that we skipped, and we're going to work a back post treble crochet. Again, picking up those 2 stitches in that chain 2 corner from the previous round. Okay, I'll do this a couple times for you and slowly. So now to do this across, we're going to skip the next 2 stitches, and then we're going to back post treble in the next 2. And again, these are going to be stitches that are on top. You can feel them with your tall man finger here. All right, so we're going to back post treble. And take this slowly, because I know this can be extremely confusing, especially if it's the first time you're trying this stitch. Allow yourself time to make mistakes, okay? Okay, now working in front of these stitches as seen from the back side. So let me show you. I'm going to back post treble in these 2 stitches. Now these 2 stitches have been crossed the last round, so you may need to use those fingers to find them. So locate them, 1, 2, and again the hook is coming in all the way from the back, and then we complete a back post treble crochet. Let's do that again, coming in all the way from the back side. Okay, let's do this one more time and then I'll show you what this looks like from the front side. Skip the next 2 stitches and the next 2, and again you can feel these that were crossed on the front side that last round. Back post treble crochet in each of those 2 stitches. I think that's the easy part. The trickier part is finding these 2 stitches that we just skipped. Locate them with your thumb and finger, and then we're going to come in the back side right here, and this is again the back side. I'll show you just how it's being formed back there, and let's do that again. And here's that stitch that we're looking for, and there you go. So let's go ahead and pull this up. It doesn't look like much from the back side facing, but when you look at the front side, you see how these are literally woven in together. Okay, so go ahead and work that across, and I will show you how this all works in at that first corner. As we come to that first corner, let me go ahead and work this with you. Skip the next 2 stitches, back post treble in these the next 2, which happen to be those 2 double crochets in the corner. Working in front of those as seen from the front side. Let's go ahead and use our fingers to find these 2 stitches. First, this one, and we work that back post treble crochet, and then the next one, which is right here. Go ahead and work that one. Okay, now we get to that chain 2 corner, work 2 double crochets, chain 2, and we turn 90 degrees, and we work 2 more double crochets. Now to continue on to the next side, again skip the next 2 stitches, back post treble in those next 2. Again, they are going to be those 2 stitches that were crossed on top from that last round. And then working in front of those as seen from the front side, which is our back side now, we're going to take that first stitch, work a back post treble crochet. Again, these are the easy ones because these are exposed. They're not hidden. And I'm going to do this one more time with you because I know this is the more challenging of the 2 rounds that we're going to be repeating. Skip the next 2 stitches, back post treble, and the next 2 stitches. Now working in front of those 2 stitches as seen from the front side. So we're going to come all the way in from the back, locate the stitches. So this is the first one. I know this seems awkward, difficult, whatever word you want to use at first, but once your fingers learn the muscle memory of this, it does become clearer. It does take practice. I'll be the first to admit that. All right, so let me go ahead and show you what this is starting to look like from the front side. So if what you have does not look anything like this, then you may need to tear it out and try again with this round. Okay, And it's okay. Like I said, it's okay if you make mistakes. That's just part of the learning process. This is just yarn. This is not silver or gold. I know it is your time, but again, this is just yarn. And if you're using this acrylic yarn, it can handle being ripped out a few times, I promise you. Well, anyway, go ahead and finish round 11. So as we round the corner to the end of this round, we're going to skip 2 stitches, and then these are the two double crochets in the chain 2 corner, and we're going to back post treble crochet in each of those 2 stitches. And again, working in front of those last 2 stitches worked as seen from the front side, which is the back side currently. We're going to locate these 2 stitches and come in all the way from the back side. And we back post treble in those 2 skipped stitches, again coming all the way in from the back side. And then we come to the chain 2 corner and we work 1, 2 double crochets, chain 2, I'm going to turn 90 degrees, and then 1 more double crochet because this chain acts as another double crochet, and we're going to join with a slip stitch to that top chain just like so. Okay, so that's going to be the end of round 11. Let's go ahead and turn, because we're going to need to turn to have the front side facing, and this is what you get. Now you're going to see some curl in this, and I just want to reassure you not to worry about that right now. When we transition from this stitch back to working some of the final rounds, that will even itself out. And you can always block some of this out, but honestly, I don't think you're going to need to. I think it's going to take care of itself. So I don't want you to worry about that. Okay, so now we have the front side facing and we've turned. Let's go ahead, and what we're going to do is we're going to work a slip stitch in that first stitch, and then slip stitch to the chain 2 corner, chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and again this does count as a double crochet in our stitch count. And we work the corner, another double crochet, chain 2, and 2 more double crochets in that chain 2 corner. Now I'm going to start you on round 12, and I think you're going to find this easy because it's very similar to what we did on round 10. Skip the next 2 stitches, and these 2 stitches again that are on top, and they are the next 2 stitches. We work front post treble crochet in those 2 stitches. Working in front of those 2 stitches, we front post treble in those 2 stitches we skipped, and those were 2 stitches from last round's chain 2 corner. Okay, skip the next 2 stitches, and these 2 stitches are hidden here, 1, 2, and then we work the next 2 front post treble, 1, 2. After that, working in front of those 2 stitches, we're going to front post treble in those 2 stitches that we skipped. And now these 2 are definitely hidden. They're very easy to miss and to skip. Don't want to do that, or you'll end up with some problems here with the stitch count for sure, and with the progress of the Celtic Weave. So this is the first stitch, and again using the nerve endings in my finger and thumb, I find those 2 stitches. There's the first one, and the second one is right there beside it. So definitely be depending on your non-dominant hand to help you find those. Skip the next 2 stitches, 1, 2, these are the ones that are hidden, and then we go for those 2 that are crossed on top, These are the next 2 stitches. Front post treble, and then working in front of those 2 stitches, we find those 2 stitches that are hiding, and 1 and 2. Again, front post treble in both of those stitches. Let me do this for you one more time. Skip those next 2 stitches, which again are hiding behind these other stitches. Front post treble and the ones that have crossed on top. Working in front of these stitches, we find those 2 that are hidden. So these stitches are literally woven. They are connected to each other with front or back post treble crochets. It literally is a weave. So this is what you will get as you work round 12. And I will work the corner. So I'm going to work this across and I will work the corner with you. Again, I just want to provide as much clarity as I can for this. And if you need to rewind, you know, a couple of rounds back, you certainly can do that if you need that kind of a review. So as we approach that first corner, again, skipping those 2 stitches that will be hidden and front post treble in those, each of those 2 double crochets that are in the chain 2 corner from the previous round, and then working in front of those 2 stitches, we find those 2 stitches that are hidden, and we work front post trebles in each of those, just like that. And with that chain 2, we work 2 double crochets, chain 2, turn 90 degrees or so, and 2 more double crochets worked into that chain 2 corner, and then going on the other side again, skip those first 2 stitches, front post treble in the next 2, and again, I'm repeating myself a lot, and that's on purpose. These are both on the surface of the stitch there, and then working in front of those 2 stitches, we front post treble in those 2 stitches we skipped, which again are the other 2 stitches in that chain 2 corner from the previous round. And let me do 2 more stitches, skip 2 here, front post double crochet in those next 2 stitches, working in front of those last 2, we find those 2 hidden stitches, locate them, and then we work front post trebles around each of those. So go ahead and work this all the way around, and I will show you how this round ends. Row 12 ends by skipping those next 2 stitches, and this is the turning chain from the previous round, which acts as a stitch. We work front post trebles over each of those 2 stitches. Working in front of those last 2 stitches, we find those 2 hidden stitches that we just skipped, and front post treble into each of those stitches. Join with a slip stitch to the top of that chain 3, which we started with, which again, just for clarity's sake, acts as a double crochet. Now go ahead and slip stitch to that chain 2 space, and then we're going to turn. But before we do, you can see more of that curl that I was talking about. Again, do not worry about that. That will all take care of itself in the end. All right. So after this, we are going to turn. Let's go ahead and start the next row. I'm going to start round 13 with you. Okay, we're going to turn, chain 3, 1, 2, 3, just like we did with round 11. Skip those 2 stitches, and then back post treble in those next 2. These again are the stitches that are on the surface. And this is, for the most part, a repeat of round 11. The only difference is you're going to have more stitches in the round. All right, working in front of those stitches as seen from the front side. I come so that you can see it, back post treble in each of those 2 stitches that we just skipped. So then we're going to skip the next 2 stitches, back post treble in each of the next 2 stitches. Let me clear some of this out of the way for you so we're a little more focused. Working in front of those 2 stitches as seen from the front side. So we're gonna, the front side is facing the other direction, so we're going to locate those 2 stitches that we skipped right here, and so that's the first one. So go ahead and take that one, work a back post treble, and then again the next one, back post treble crochet. So we're going to go ahead and work that all the way around. Let me go ahead and give you a longer assignment. Again, this is round 13. So for rounds 13 through 16, we are going to repeat rounds 11 and 12 2 times more. Okay, if you need a review as to how these stitches or how these rounds will be worked, look across the bottom of your screen where round 11 begins, and you can re-watch rounds 11 and 12. The way the corners and everything interact are the exact same. The only difference is the stitch counts are going to increase. Now, let me give you some stitch numbers from round 12, which was the round that we just completed. This round should have a total of 16 4-stitch crosses or clusters here, and 2 additional stitches in either corner as we work across the side. That gives us a total of 68 stitches across each side. So go ahead and work rounds 13 through 16. At the end of round 16, we're going to join with a slip stitch to the top of that chain 3, which also acts as a stitch, and go ahead and slip stitch into that next stitch and slip stitch into the chain 2 corner, and we're going to turn and work the last Celtic Weave row, or the row to discontinue it. But before we do that, let's take a look at how this has grown. So let's take a look at it a little bit more closely. And you do see the curl. Like I said, don't worry about that. That's going to come out as we progress. All right, isn't that lovely? So this is what the Celtic Weave should look like. Now, this can be challenging to count the rows. So let me show you how you can count the rows. Now, the Celtic Weave started with row 10. So we know that this is row 10. So we can count 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, just by counting where the X's are. And if that's too confusing, we can go to the corner. The corner was row number 9. And then, so for the Celtic Weave, we have 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. So I just wanted to show you how you can count those rounds in case that's just a bit confusing to you. All right, so let's go ahead and turn. We're going to have the back side facing us. And this is the row that's going to discontinue this stitch. So after turning, we are only going to chain 2, and you'll see why in just a second. Instead of working back post trebles, we're going to work back post double crochets, and when you work that as a post stitch, it tends to make the equivalent of a half double crochet in height. So what we're going to do with the first 2 stitches is we're going to work half double crochets in those first 2 stitches. We will finish up this corner at the end of the round, and then half double in the next stitch. Now for the next 80 stitches across, we're going to work just back post double crochets, 1 in each stitch. We're not crossing anything, we're just working these straight across in the order that they come. Okay, so go ahead and work that all the way across, and I'm going to give you some detailed instructions. When you get to these double crochets, we work half double, and when you come to the chain 2, we're going to work 2 half doubles, chain 2, and then 2 more half doubles, and then continue working this all the way around. Again, when you have the single double crochets in those chain 2 corners, half double worked into the top loops, and then back post double crochets over the post stitches. So go ahead and work that all the way across, and at the end of this round you should have 88 stitches across each side. You should have had 84 stitches at the end of round 16. So at the end of round 17, you're going to have 88 stitches. We're going to work 2 half doubles into that chain 2 space, chain 2, and then we already have the chain there, so we just need to work 1 additional half double crochet so that the stitch count will be 2 and 2 on each of those. And go ahead and join with a slip stitch to the top of that chain, just like so, and go ahead and fasten off because it's time for us to change colors again. And let's go ahead and turn, and let's take a look at this beautiful Celtic weave and the corner. I'm going to go ahead and give you a vision of where we are headed. We are going to be basically duplicating or replicating these rounds here. The single crochet round, although this was a half double, we're going to use single crochet, and we're going to use low front ridge, more single crochet, which would be low front ridge round 2, arrow stitches, another round of single crochet, and then low front ridge and some more rounds there. So I just wanted to show you this is what we're going to be doing, but on this end of the Celtic weave. So go ahead and join in any of the chain 2 corners using the dark blue yarn. I'm going to join with, make a little slip knot, and join with the chain 1. Then I'm going to go ahead and work 1 single crochet, chain 2, and then 1 single crochet. So now we're going to work across the row using single crochet. Go ahead and work in each stitch, working 1 stitch in each stitch all the way across. At the end of this round, when you include the stitches in both of the chain 2 corners, you should have a total of 86 stitches across each side. At the end, we're going to join with a slip stitch to that very first stitch of the round. We're not going to turn, we're going to have the front side continue to be facing. We're going to go ahead and put those stitch markers in the chain 2 corners. So go ahead and take the time to do that, very important. And then after you do that, we're going to begin. Again, this is the low front ridge. We're just going to chain 1, and then starting in that very first single crochet, which is in that chain 2 corner, we're going to work a slip stitch, working only in the front loop. We've done this a couple times before. We're going to do it a couple times more. Okay, so we're just going to work slip stitch all the way around. And then just as a review, let me just show you when you get to the next chain 2 corner. Again, make sure you put a stitch marker there. After this slip stitch, you're going to chain 1, skip the chain 2 entirely, and then go back to slip stitching in the front loop of the next stitch along the other side. So go ahead and work that all the way around. So now at the end, go ahead, we're going to give it a chain as we come to the corner, and then we find that very first slip stitch right there, and we join with a slip stitch and go ahead, give it a chain, and we're going to fasten this off. Give it a nice generous strand so it will be easy to hide later on. And you know what, I'm going to go ahead, I'm just going to leave it. I'll deal with this in a little bit, but make sure again that you had your stitch markers in those corners, because now it's time for us to join with a different color. We're going to go back to the medium blue, which is the low front ridge round 2, and you can join in any corner. I'll just go ahead and join in the same corner here in that chain 2 corner. And let's go ahead and we'll make the corner to begin with the chain 1, and then we're going to work a single crochet, chain 2, and another single crochet into that chain 2 corner. I'm going to go ahead and remove the stitch marker. It's not as important at this point. Marking those rounds for the low front ridge, it's imperative that we use those. Okay, so let's go ahead and turn. And now we're working in the remaining loop. So go ahead and work single crochets in that remaining loop to the next corner. And when you get to that next corner, you're going to again do a single crochet, chain 2, single crochet, and then continue on around. Okay, so just to give you some stitch counts for round 17, which is the round where we discontinued the Celtic weave, you should have a total of 88 stitches across each side. For round 18, which is the single crochet round, you should have a total of 90 stitches per side. This is with the dark blue. And now as we work the low front ridge, which is round 19, the stitch count does not change. Again, that does not really have anything to do with the maintaining of the stitch count, since it is a surface layer. So again, round 20, you will have 92 stitches per side, and that's again the working in the back loop. So go ahead and finish round 20. At the end of round 20, we're going to join with a slip stitch to that first single crochet of the round. All right, so now for round 21, we're going to go ahead and slip stitch to the chain 2, which is actually round 1 of the arrow stitch. So we're going to chain 3. We're going to work a double crochet in that same space, and for the record, this chain 3 does count as a double crochet. Chain 2, and then 2 more double crochets worked into that chain 2 space. So after that chain 2 corner, we are going to begin round 1 of the arrow stitch, and it's going to be worked the same way that we worked the arrow stitches earlier on in this project, but I'll go ahead and start it with you. We're going to skip the next 3 stitches, 1, 2, 3, and then in the next stitch, working through both loops, and I have prepared my hook for a treble crochet. We work the treble crochet, now working behind that treble crochet, we're going to work a double crochet, which is the smaller stitch, into each of those 3 stitches. It's smaller than the treble is what I mean by that. So again, the treble crochet and then working behind that, those 3 double crochets. I'll do that again. Skip the next 3 stitches, treble crochet into that next stitch, working behind that treble and working in those 3 skipped stitches. Make sure we have skipped 3. Yes, we did. And then we work double crochets into those 3 skipped stitches. I'll do this one more time just for a refresher, and make sure that you're not using the stitch that we've already used as you count, because it'd be real easy to get off that way. So 1, 2, skip 3, and then treble crochet in that next stitch, working behind. Go ahead and work double crochets in each of those 3 skipped stitches. And so since we have 92 stitches across, I'm not including these in the turning chains for right now. I'm just referring to the single crochets from the last round. That should work out to 23 arrow stitches across. So we're going to work that all the way across, and then when you get to the chain 2 corner, we're going to work 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 double crochets in those corners. So go ahead and work this around, and I'll show you the join at the end. At the end of round 21, we're going to join with a slip stitch to the top of the turning chain, and then we're going to slip stitch our way to the chain 2 corner. Okay, so now for round 22, we're going to turn to have the back side facing us, very important, and we're going to chain 3, which does count as a double crochet in this round. We're going to work double crochets over those 2 stitches that were in the corner from the last round. They might be a little bulky because we're working over the slip stitches that we worked, but go ahead and work over those. And now we are going to work arrow round 2. We're going to skip 3 stitches, 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to work a treble crochet in the next stitch. And as a refresher, that should be the same stitch that was the treble from the last round. Then working in front of that treble crochet, we're going to work double crochets into those 3 skipped stitches. Again, this is the back side facing, and you will not see the arrow from this side, but when you turn to the front side, you do see that arrow being formed. All right, so I'll do this with you one more time. Skip 3 stitches, 1, 2, 3, treble crochet into that next stitch, working in front of that treble crochet, double crochet into those 3 stitches that were skipped. So we're going to work this all the way across. When you get to the end of the round, or end of the side rather, as we work the round, we're going to work double crochet into those 2 stitches that remain. And then when we get to the chain 2 corner, we're going to work 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 double crochets again. Okay, and then as you turn, double crochet, and then we resume the arrow stitch with the skipping 3 treble crochet, and then working in front of that treble, double crochet into those 3 stitches that you just skipped. So go ahead and work this all the way around. At the end of round 22, we're going to work a double crochet in each of those double crochets remaining, and then we work in that chain 2 corner, 2 double crochets, chain 2, And then we're going to work 1 double crochet, because the chain 3 acts as that other double crochet, and we're going to join with a slip stitch to the top of that chain 3, and this will give you 100 stitches across each side. Of course, a total of 400 stitches in the round. All right, so let's go ahead and we're going to turn back to the front side facing, and this is what that edge should look like, or the perimeter should look like at this point. Let's go ahead and take another look at this, so you can see it's turning out quite nicely. So now for round 23, we're going to slip stitch our way to that chain 2 corner, chain 1, and then we're going to work a single crochet, chain 2, and a single crochet for that chain 2 space, and we're going to do that for every corner. Single crochet, chain 2, single crochet, and then we're just going to work 1 single crochet in each stitch all the way around, so that, as I've said before, that's going to give you 102 stitches on each side. So go ahead, complete round 23. At the end of round 23, we're going to work single crochets over those last 4 stitches. One of those would be that turning chain, and then we're going to work a slip stitch rather into that first single crochet of the round, and then we're going to fasten off because it's time to change colors again. So we're going to go ahead, and I'm going to start the next round in a different corner, and we're going back to the dark yarn, the dark blue, or whichever dark color that you're using of the colors that you choose, and starting in any chain 2 corner, I'm going to make my little slip knot. I'm going to join with that chain or slip stitch, and I'm going to work a single crochet, chain 2, and a single crochet in that chain 2 space. And just like the last round, we're just going to work 1 single crochet in each stitch all the way around, and when you get to the chain 2 corner, we're going to work 1 single crochet, chain 2, 1 single crochet in each corner. At the end of round 24, we work all those single crochets, and then we're going to join with a slip stitch to that first stitch of the round, and go ahead and slip stitch to the chain 2 space. And let's go ahead and pause and make sure that all of our chain 2 spaces have stitch markers. Very important going forward. So after slip stitching to the corner, we're going to chain 1. We're going to skip that corner completely, and working in the next single crochet, this is the first single crochet of the other side, we just work slip stitch, working in that front loop only. Again, this is the low front ridge, round 1. So go ahead and work this all the way around. When you get to the chain 2 corners, just chain 1 and just keep going along the other side as we've done before. And again, make sure you have a stitch marker in that chain 2 corner. All right, go ahead and work that all the way around. At the end of this round, we're going to join to that first stitch with a slip stitch and go ahead and fasten off. And let's go ahead and change the color. Leave a good long strand. And so now it's time for us to get the white yarn. Now for round 26, we're going to join in any of those chain 2 corners. I'm going to make my slip knot and go ahead and join Let's move this over here with that chain, and then we're going to work a single, let's get our hook out of that stitch marker. We'll work a single crochet, chain 2, and a single crochet into the chain 2 space. Now working in the remaining loop of the stitches, we're going to work single crochet in each of those remaining loops across. And when you get to the next chain 2 corner, you work a single crochet, chain 2, single crochet in the next corner and in each corner. So go ahead and work that all the way around. At the end of round 26, we're going to join with a slip stitch to that very first single crochet, there we go, of the round. Go ahead and slip stitch to the chain 2 corner, and now we're going to begin round 27. So we're going to start with a chain 3, which does count as a stitch in this stitch count, and another double crochet, chain 2, and I turn 90 degrees as you can see there, 2 more double crochets in the chain 2 corner. And just for the record, the last round, which going back to round 26, had 106 stitches per side. As we go forward, each of these sides are going to have 110 stitches. After the corner, we're going to begin the pattern stitch across each side, and we're going to start with a front post double crochet, followed by a back post double crochet, and then a front post double crochet. After that, we're going to work a 4-post cable, and we do this. It's very similar to the Celtic Weave row 1. Skip 2 stitches, and we're going to front post treble crochet in that next stitch and in the next stitch. Working in front of those 2 stitches, we front post treble in those 2 stitches that we skipped. After that, we're going to work 8 stitches in ribbing, which will be a front post double crochet, followed by a back post double crochet, and we're going to do that over 8 stitches. So front post, and then back post, front post, back post, pull up some more yarn, front post, and then back post. Let me double check. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 stitches, and then after that we're going to repeat the 4-post cable. Skip the next 2 stitches, front post treble in each of the next 2 stitches, working in front of those 2 stitches, front post treble into the 2 stitches that we just skipped. And that's going to be your repeat across the side. And I'll show you how it ends as we near the corner. But we're going to work 8 alternating front and back post stitches, and then the 4-post cable. So go ahead and work that across the side. At the end of the side, you should have a total of 3 stitches left. So go ahead and work a front post. This is following the 4-post cable. So you should work a front post, a back post, and then a front post. Let me go ahead and move my stitch marker out of the way since they're not going to be as important. So let me show you that again. You're going to have a front post, a back post, and a front post. And then when you get to the chain 2 corner, we're going to work 2 double crochets, a chain 2, and 2 more double crochets. And then after that, we're going to just repeat what we've done already, with starting with 3 ribbing stitches. So that would be a front post, a back post, and a front post. And then that's when you begin again with the 4-post cable, and then you work 8 of those rib stitches, starting with a front post, back post, etc. Okay, so go ahead and work that all the way around. At the end of round 27, we join with a slip stitch to the top of that chain 3, which serves as a double crochet in this particular round. And then we're going to slip stitch our way to that chain 2 corner, and then we are going to turn so that we have the back side facing us for round 28. So to begin round 28, we are going to only chain 2. After that chain 2, we are going to incorporate the stitches that we've worked in the corners into our ribbing. And the way we do that, we're going to check to see we have a back post. So that means we're going to work a front post and a back post. So we're going to start this round with a back post double crochet, and then a front post double crochet, a back post. We're going to working over those other established rib stitches. Okay, so let me just pause to give you some numbers here. So we have worked 5 stitches. The 2 stitches that were in the chain 2 corner from the previous round, plus the 3 stitches that we worked at the beginning of each side in the pattern stitch. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at the front. And do be sure that you're working front post over front post, back post over front post. Just so that these ribbed stitches come out nice and even. When you work over the 4-post cable, we're just going to work 4 back post double crochets. Okay. So the repeat again is going to be with the 4 back post double crochets, and then working the ribbing. You have a front post here, or as you read the round with the back side facing, that presents itself as a front post. So we work front post, and then back post, and then front post, etc. over those 8 stitches. And then once again, when you come to the 4-post cable, we work 4. Oops, I forgot 1 stitch here. Let's double check to make sure that I have all 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And that will probably be a good thing for you to do, is to make sure that you have all 8 stitches, or you will lose stitches. And then we work 4 back post double crochets. Okay, so this is what it looks like from the back side. When you look at the front side, it looks like this. Okay, so we're going to work this all the way across the row. Now when you get to the double crochet stitches here, again, we're going to work those in, and I will show you how to work that at the end of the side. As we reach the next corner, I'm going to work these stitches with you. So you're going to have the front back post, and then a front post, and then a back post. Those are those 3 ribbed stitches, and then we're going to add in these 2 additional stitches of the corner. Now instead of working double crochets, we're going to work half doubles. 2 half doubles, chain 2, and then 2 more half doubles into that turning chain. All right, and then we're going to start the next side and every side with a back post, double crochet, then a front post. And again, over those stitches until you reach the 4-post cable. And just to be clear, as you start from the corner, after those 2 half doubles, there are going to be 5 stitches, back post, front post, back post, front post, back post, and then you get back to pattern stitch with the 4 back post double crochets over that 4-post cable. And then continue on front post, back post, etc. So go ahead and work that all the way around. At the end of round 28, we're going to work 2 half doubles, chain 2, and then we're going to work 1 half double because the original chain 2 counts as a stitch, and then we're going to join to the top of that stitch, just like so. Now we're going to turn to have the front side facing for the next round, and we're just going to work a slip stitch in that next stitch and then slip stitch to the chain 2 corner. Now we have the front side facing again. We're only going to chain 2 and then work an additional half double crochet. This again is starting round 29. Chain 2 and 2 more half double crochets worked into that chain 2 space. Okay, so now we're going to add these 2 half doubles into the ribbed sequence. Now when the front side is facing, we're going to start with a front post double crochet in that first stitch, and then a back post double crochet, and then we're going to continue working over those next 5 stitches. 4 and 5. So what that's going to mean is at the corner there are going to be a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 post stitches, which form the ribbing. Then of course you have those 2 stitches in the corner in addition to that. Okay, and this round, other than the corners, is going to be very much like round 27, where we skip 2 stitches and then we front post treble in those next 2 stitches. And this round is where we start to see more of the cables being formed. Working in front of those 2 stitches, we front post treble into the 2 stitches that we just skipped. So you can see our first cable is now recognizable. And then we work again front post, back post, alternating over those next 8 stitches. That'd be 5, 6, and the front post, 7, and then a back post, 8. So do make sure that you do have those 8 stitches, and then it repeats again. Skip 2 stitches, front post treble in the next 2 stitches, etc. So let's go ahead and look towards the end of the side. So when you get to this part, you have those 5 front post, back post, alternating, and then you're going to work a back post and then a front post over these 2 half doubles, and then we're going to work 2 half doubles, chain 2, 2 half doubles into that chain 2 corner, and then again we start with the front post, back post, front post, back post, etc., and just continue on in pattern stitch. So go ahead and work round 29. And just for the record, I just want to give you some numbers. Going back to round 28, you should have 114 stitches per side. Once you complete round 29, which is the round back here, this is the 3rd round of this final trim, you should have 118 stitches per side. At the end of round 29, after working those 5 post stitches, we're going to add the last 2, which were part of those stitches in that chain 2 corner, and then join with a slip stitch to the top of the chain 2, just like that. And then we are going to slip stitch our way to that chain 2 corner again. Let's just go ahead and pause before we go further, and let's take a look at this edging. Okay, so you see the cables have been crossed. Now for round 30, we are going to turn again to have the back side facing, and this is very much like what we did on round 28. So we're going to chain 2, which does count as a half double, and again we're adding these other stitches in. So we're going to start with a back post double crochet in that first stitch, and then a front post double crochet, and then we just continue on in the pattern that appears, and then just go ahead and you're going to work back post double crochets over the cable. Okay, so again, just like we did on round 28, and as you get to the corner, don't forget to incorporate these 2 stitches into the ribbing. So after that back post, you'll work a front post and then a back post, and then work 2 half doubles, chain 2, 2 half doubles in that chain 2 corner. So go ahead and work that all the way around. At the end of round 30, we're going to work 2 half double crochets. This is working in the chain 2 space, chain 2, and then 1 more half double crochet, and then we're going to join with a slip stitch to the top of that chain 2, which also acts as a half double crochet. So that was with the back side facing. And so after 30 rounds, this is what the edging is going to look like. Isn't that lovely? So now we're going to continue this for a little while longer. So we've turned. So now to start round 31, and this is with the front side facing, go ahead and slip stitch your way to that chain 2 corner, chain 2, which again acts as a half double, work an additional half double crochet, chain 2, and 2 additional half double crochets, and then we once again begin the ribbed section by working a front post double crochet followed by a back post double crochet, and etc. We're going to work this until we get to the 4th post cable. So let me go ahead and give you some numbers before we go forward on round 31. So for round 30, you should have had 122 stitches along each side. For round 31, we're going to have 126 stitches per side. So I'm going to go ahead and continue working with the ribbed stitches, and you should have a total, see, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 and 11. So you're going to have, as you notice, these are increasing. We're going to have 11 ribbed stitches before we get to that very first 4-post cable. And for the 4-post cable, again, skip 2, front post treble in each of the next 2 stitches, and then working in front of those 2 stitches, we front post treble in to those 2 stitches that we just skipped. And as we've been doing, we work front and back post double crochets for the ribbing over the next 8 stitches, and then back to the 4-post cable. We're going to work this all the way across, and then at the end you're going to have 11 front and back post double crochets, and then when you get to the chain 2 corner, 2 half doubles, chain 2, 2 half doubles worked into that space. So go ahead and work round 31 all the way around. At the end of round 31, we're going to join with a slip stitch to that first chain of that chain 2, and then we're going to slip stitch our way once again for the last time to that chain 2 corner. Let's go ahead and take a look at this trim after completing 31 rounds. Now for round 32, which is the last round, we're going to turn to have the back side facing us. Go ahead and chain 2, which serves as a half double in the stitch count, and we're going to begin with a back post double crochet, just like we've been doing, front post, and then we're going to work our way to that first 4-post cable. You should have a total of 13 of these ribbed stitches before you get to that 4-post cable. So just again working front and back post double crochets, and do be sure that you give them a count, because it's really easy to forget this last back post double crochet. Okay, after working those front and back post stitches, we're going to skip the next 2 stitches, 1 2, and then in between that last stitch and the next stitch, and let me show you, this is right in the center where these 2 columns cross to form our cable. We're just going to work in that large space there, and we're going to work 7 double crochets. This is going to make a beautiful little fan in this section. It's going to be a nice finishing touch. So you have 1 2 3 4 5 6 and 7. Skip the next 2 stitches, and then we go right to those ribbed stitches again. And again, there are 8 of these, starting with a front post double crochet, back post, front post, back post, etc. And again, do make sure that there are 8 of them. Don't forget the last stitch. Okay, and let's do this one more time. Skip the next 2 stitches, and in between that last stitch and the next stitch is the space in between, so it's not directly in any of the stitches. We're going to work 7 double crochets. Okay, and double check to make sure we have 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. Skip the next 2 stitches and then we work those front and back post double crochets. So we're going to work this all the way around. Let's go ahead, and I'm going to turn to let you see the back side so that you see what that finishing touch looks like. Okay, and as we work the corners, we're just going to continue them in the same manner. Let's go ahead and take a look. We're just going to work these 2 stitches into the ribbing. So when you get to this section, you'll work a front post and then a back post, and then into the chain 2 space, you're going to go ahead and work 2 half doubles, chain 2, 2 half doubles. So go ahead and work this all the way around. At the end of round 32, we're going to end with 2 half doubles, chain 2, and 1 more half double, and then we're going to join to the top of that turning chain, or the chain 2 that we started with, and then we're going to give it a chain and a tug, and we are going to fasten off, and just like that we are done. So this is the back side, and as you can see, I have many strands that I need to hide. I need to remove my stitch markers and etc. But let's go ahead and take a look at the finished product. There we go. So you can see the edging. So this is the beautiful edging that we finished with, and if you need a look at the corner, they look like this. All right. Well, I hope you enjoyed making the Celtic Knot baby blanket with Jennifer and myself today. If you did, I would love to hear from you. Please feel free to comment in the comment section below. And again, should you need to reach me for any reason via email, that information is in the video description. God bless. Bye-bye.